So another part of the UI that's really important is this top part here. So these options refer to your viewport, different viewing options, isolating things, X-ray mode. So starting at the top here, you have view. So a lot of this is to do with your view and your camera. Shading. So right now this is on uh, smooth shade all. I can turn on wireframe, flat shaded. Um, but generally you'll probably work in the default smooth shade all. There's different sort of hotkeys associated with that view option. So if I have one on an object, I'll see it in its true sort of shape. If I had two, I'll see a smoothed version with the original shape's wireframe. So you can see I've got like a smoother sphere in here with a wireframe around it. So if I press one again, it's going to pop back out. Um, you will mostly want to stay in one on the keyboard because that's what the true model actually looks like. Two and three, so three is just the actual smoothed object. This is a preview of your model if it was smoothed. This is just something that you use a lot when you're making animations in Maya and you want to add actual subdivisions to your model but not bake it in. Um, we'll cover a tool of like how you would actually bake it in. So I would have to smooth this twice to get it to the same level it would be in that preview. So 4 on the keyboard is just sort of you can see through it, right? You can just see the wireframe mode, and 5 is shaded. 6 is turning on your textures if you have a texture applied to this, but there's nothing applied to this because it's default cube, so you can't see anything. 7 turns on the lighting, so you can see up top when I press these come on. So this is the material one, this is the lighting one. So if I had some lights in here, so if I go to create light, have a point light, move it, hit W and bring it out, you can see some lights. I'll turn that off. Um, this is shadows, so I can turn on shadows if I had like a ground plane. This is screen space ambient occlusion, so sometimes it can be a bit tricky to tell the distance between things. So if I had this on, it'll sort of give me this sort of ambient occlusion where things are close to contacting. You can see it disappears the further it gets away from it. One of the really useful ones up here is isolate. So if I had a load of objects in here, I can select on an object or multiple objects and isolate them with this little button here. So it's just if you got a scene that's sort of getting cluttered a bit, it's hard to sort of see things in the angle you need to. Using isolate will help you to sort of focus in on that one object. This is X-ray mode. So if you're modeling something to your reference, you've got an image uh, behind this model set up, and you're trying to sort of trace around it or use it as a reference to sort of get your proportions of things. This mode can be really useful. Um, Next to shading here, you have lighting. This is all just default, but you can turn on flat lighting. So this is sort of like what Roki is set up like. But for just working, this isn't a great mode to be in because you can see objects, if they share the same color, will disappear onto each other. So default lighting's fine for this working. Here's show, so this is a way I can tell Maya to turn off anything of that kind. So it's like isolate, but it is more scene wide. So I can turn off my polygons if I was looking at just curves. Um, it's a way of breaking your scene down to look at just particular objects if something else is in the way. So I can turn off everything and turn on just that one specific thing I'm looking at, or I can have it all on and turn off, you know, certain things. Right. Render, you don't need to worry about this too much. This viewport's using viewport 2.0, but Arnold is the render engine, so I wouldn't really advise you to work in this. just for modeling purposes. Panels is also another important one. So when I go to perspective, this is showing me the camera I'm currently in. So the camera I'm flying around in is our perspective camera. You can see it here in the outliner grayed out. But you also have other sort of view modes. So you have orthographic views. So if I press keyboard or space bar on my keyboard, it'll break me into this four window view. This is the perspective. If I turn on this, it'll hopefully tell me which one I'm in. I think this is the top. Make an object. Yeah, so this is the top. This is either the front or the side. Um, so spacebar is the quick key of getting access to those. And if I hover my mouse over any of these windows and press spacebar again, it'll enter me into that view mode. Spacebar again, spacebar, then back to this one. You can find this view, four panel layout, is here as well as a button. So if I click this, it'll bring me to that. This button below that is a two view, and this one is the outliner, so I can toggle on and off my outliner. I can also have multiple cameras in my scene, so this is where this is important. So say you're working to a sort of particular angle that you want to show off your scene from, you can make other cameras and place them around. And if you wanted to look through that camera, you would go to panel, perspective, and you'll see that camera in there. So it's always good if you're making multiple of these, give it a name, and I'll say you had it to be like shot a, I don't know, Caesar 1, whatever. So you can see that I'll have that camera here. Now for looking through cameras, this viewport is, whatever way you've got your panel set up, it's always going to sort of change the aspect ratio of it, whereas a camera will have a fixed aspect ratio. And to view that, to see the preview of the film gate, it's this button right here. So if I click film gate, you can see I can see my scene with this gray border around it. If I click this one next to it as well, it will give me the actual aspect ratio of the camera. So you can see this camera I made has a resolution of 960 by 540. So if you are going to use these as previews, we'll want your still shots of your environment and stuff to be in 1920 1080. So if I click this render option up here at the top and scroll down, you can see it's set to 540 at the minute. If I change that to 1080, I would just keep it set to that.